Tenants in North Dakota claim that a landlord charged them a $6,000 move out fee. But was it really damage that they caused themselves to the unit? I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's coming out of a place I almost never cover, and that's North Dakota. So there's a tenant up there, and they say that their landlord is just gouging them, charging them fees for things that they did not do, okay? And they charged a $6,000 supposedly move out fee, okay? Now, I don't think that this was a move out fee. I think that the tenant is mistaken and that there was $6,000 worth of damage to the unit. Now, I know the tenant's like, well, how could there possibly be $6,000 worth of damage to the unit? Well, I just, turned over a house that I had to evict the tenant from, and it cost me $6,500 with all of the repairs and all of the damage that those tenants did to that house. Okay, so believe me, yes, there is a way that it could cost $6,000 in damages and go beyond what your security deposit covered. Okay, that's just the way that things work. Things aren't cheap. These people, they seem to think in their minds, oh, well, we it shouldn't cost that much. I mean, no, yeah, it does. It really does. And until you see the landlord's numbers, until you see our receipts, you have no clue. So maybe you should just pay what you owe the landlord. Okay? That's what I'm asking. I'm asking these tenants to stop acting all entitled and pay for the damages that they cause. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like, subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. How much damage has a tenant done to one of your units before? And I know that there are people who have spent, $10,000, $20,000 making repairs to a unit after a tenant has moved out. So yeah, a lot of times the security deposit's not going to cover it. And, that is how much the tenant owes us. Okay, if you do $6,000 worth of damage, you owe your landlord $6,000. It's not a move out fee. It is cost of the damages you caused. Yeah, completely ridiculous. And of course, this article, it's on the tenant's side. So I'm going to let you know what I think really happened as we go along. So let's get into it. This article is coming from publicnewsservice.org, and it says, move out fees for immigrant renters in North Dakota draw scrutiny. Yeah, and they try to play it off like, oh, well, these people, they're immigrants, they don't know English well, and the landlord's trying to screw them over. I doubt it, okay? I truly doubt it, because what kind of landlord would just come up and just be like, oh yeah, just give me $6,000 and absolutely nothing is wrong. Okay, very, very few people are trying to scam like that. And most of them are tenants, by the way. So anyway, let's get into the article and see what it says. As refugees and immigrant families try to carve out new futures in North Dakota, aid groups said some people are having their lives upended by housing-related issues. They point to costly fees when moving out of a rental unit. The organization, Bismarck Global Neighbors, said it's working with a family from East Africa who was asked to pay $6,000 after moving out of an apartment building. Leah Hargrove, executive director of the group, said the fee was for blanket repairs, with most of it going to work likely to be done anyway. The mother acknowledged some standard fixes were needed, but Hargrove argued it is an example of a property manager going too far. And do they have evidence of that? Okay, do they have evidence that it is an example of a property manager going too far? They were like, oh, well, this work that needs to be done anyway. Well, why did the work need to be done anyway? Was it because the tenants were very, very rough on the unit when they lived there? Kicking holes in the wall, not cleaning anything, leaving roach infestations everywhere, leaving the water running, causing water damage to the place. These are the sort of issues that landlords have to deal with. And this is why things can cost thousands of dollars. I had a tenant who left a sink just clogged up with this cement-like sludge, and I had to have all the pipes cut out and replaced just so that I could have that sink usable again. So when I call that plumber in there, it isn't going to be, oh, well, it's $50. No, it's costing me a few $100 to get that done. Okay. And those little things, they add up. If you go in there and every single carpet in the place is ruined, if you have to, replace the drywall in multiple different rooms, if electrical appliances no longer work, Okay, this stuff adds up. Like I said, I just turned a unit over where I had to evict a tenant where it cost me $6,500. So I understand that yes, it is possible that the tenants caused this much damage. And don't give me that garbage about how, oh, well, this stuff needed to be done anyway. Well, you are not the property owner. So there is no way that you would know whether that stuff was broken or torn up before that tenant moved in or whether it wasn't. So please be quiet. Don't, and we can't take the tenant's word for it. We just can't. It's just the way it works that the landlord and the tenant, they have a private relationship, and the tenant is always going to try to, persuade other people that, oh yeah, we're just innocent victims and the landlord's being evil, when that is not the case. To me, it seemed like a really egregious example of a company taking advantage of someone that they knew isn't aware of their rights, Hargrove contended, and because of low English and being new to the country, is less able to advocate for themselves. Her group and a local attorney are helping the family challenge the fee in court. The High Plains Fair Housing Center said the issue is happening elsewhere in the state, typically with large housing firms. The North Dakota Apartment Association declined to comment. State Senator Bob Paulson, who is a landlord, feels current laws dealing with these matters are adequate, but would be willing to consider changes if widespread discrimination becomes more apparent. And that's a good response, okay? There's already laws in place to handle landlords, the very, very few landlords who are not doing things according to the law. So we do not need to change the law in order to take care of situations like this. Go after the one or two bad players. Go after this landlord, right? You said that the property manager was the one who was charging the cost for all of this. But here's the thing, right? The property manager doesn't get to keep that money. So you're saying that the owner somehow told the property manager they colluded together in order to, no, no, no. Like they act like all of this is collusion to be able to squeeze money out of these tenants, right? Now, believe me, we do deserve to make a profit, but I don't believe that the majority of landlords are out there specifically trying to cheat the tenants. Instead, I believe that the tenants, the tenant advocates, and those people, those politicians who make laws, they have a fundamental misunderstanding of how much things cost. They have no clue. They have no clue how expensive it can be to be a landlord and how much repairs are, when, especially when we have bad tenants. They just instantly say, oh well, it should only cost like $1,000, and I'm like, listen, the paint alone, just getting this place painted alone was $1,000. Okay, and that doesn't even include all the repairs and other issues that we had. Not to mention, did this tenant, owe them additional rent? Did the tenant have a security deposit? We don't know those sort of things. All we know is what's written in this article, and the article doesn't sound like they took the time to contact the landlord and get their side of the story. And even if they did, maybe the landlord doesn't want to talk to a newspaper about it who is going to paint them as a villain. Geraldine Amby, testing coordinator for the Bismarck office of the High Plains Fair Housing Center, said in the meantime, they want new Americans to have the knowledge and tools to prevent such situations, including getting everything in writing and taking pictures during move-in and move-out time. She added, knowing your rights, such as living standards for the unit, is also important. It has to be safe. It has to have water, electricity has to be clean and sanitary and structured in a very safe way, and be outlined. And I agree with her, right? You should get pictures, but keep in mind, I'm going to have my pictures as well. And I only trust my pictures. I don't trust your pictures as the tenant. So, yeah, before you move in, I am going to take pictures of the unit, the way it looked. It's going to be cleaned up after I did all of my repairs and before you moved anything in. And then after you move out, I'm going to take pictures as well so that I can show you all of the damages that you caused. So, yeah, that's just the way that I operate my business. And my property managers, they do the same thing for me. So I have property managers for my properties now, and they take pictures of the units before the tenant moves in. And, when I was managing my properties on my own, what I would do is I would attach pictures of the unit to the lease, and they would have to sign off saying, yeah, this is the way it looked. I mean, I know not every landlord does that, but this is something that you might want to consider because a lot of the times they'll come back and be like, oh, well, that was broken when I moved in. That's complete garbage. And we have to cover our own butts. We have to cover our own butts because nobody's on our side except for us. So, yeah, this sounds like a ridiculous story. I'll put a link to the full article down in the description so that you can read the rest of it. But for now, I'm just not believing that this is some case of a bad landlord who is charging ridiculous fees to the tenant.